All right. Thanks everyone. How's it going? Last session for the day. ठीक है? We're gonna wrap it up quickly. आवाज सही है? Face सही है? So good. So just to kick things off, I'd like to start getting know you guys a little bit first. तो आप चले ये बताएं कि आप में से कितने लोग यहाँ पे हैं जो पहला ये GDG इवेंट का पहला एज अटेंड कर रहे हैं? Show of hands. Okay, nice percentage. So that means everybody else is come before, which is excellent, which is actually more people. God. So, दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आप लोगों में से कितने लोग प्रोफेशनल्स हैं? Nice, good number, good number. So one of the things that I always speak of on these events is कि हम लोग अभी बहुत ज़्यादा मिस कर रहे हैं. We have a lot of student participation in these events, but what we don't have is professional participation. अभी professionals बहुत कम आते हैं. So all those who are here, I would strongly urge them कि वो अपने next time जब आएं तो अपने peers को भी लेके आएं. And basically the idea is कि जो यहाँ पे talks ज़्यादातर हो रही हैं, they're not meant to be just for students, but they're actually just meant to be information sessions. जहाँ पे we're focused on telling people about what are the new trends, what is the latest technology, and it's just about expanding your horizons when you're doing your development work. And likewise, today I'll talk about a topic here that is not new. This has been talked about since 2012. But slowly अब ये picture में आ रहा है. There are a lot of different companies that are adopting this pattern, and I already spoke about this last year, but this year, today I'm going to go out in a slightly different direction and try to really show you the complete picture of what the ecosystem looks like right now. So to kick things off, how many people here have built a PWA today? दो लोगों ने किया है, तीन लोगों ने किया है, आधे हाथ उठे हो गए. Half-hearted attempt has count them. So, and this is fine. The problem with PWAs is कि जब आप ये नाम देखते हैं progressive web apps तो ज़्यादातर लोगों को समझ नहीं आती कि वो क्या है. And then the bigger problem comes in कि आपको समझ आ जाए कि वो क्या है, उसके बाद मसला ये आता है कि इसके साथ करना किस तरह है इसको. So today we'll be trying to target on those things and we'll try to fix them. So a bit about me. I'm just curious. यहाँ पे कितने लोग हैं जिन वो meeting में for the first time? Show of hands. Excellent. मैं कोशिश करूँ कम से कम लोगों को सुनाने. So for those who don't know me now, my name is Mashhood and I am working as the engineering lead at a startup called Sasareke.tk, which should be obvious by now. And effectively, one of my core roles as a human being is community participation. I believe in sharing information. I believe in bringing people, upgrading people, their skills, their knowledge, and I have been doing this over the last several years now by organizing different communities and meetups all over Karachi. And you can see a few of them over here, including Docker, Karachi, Python Karachi, React, Angular Pakistan, all of these different communities जो हम run with it, I have more or less been participating in them in one way or the other. So, and because of that, last year I got awarded the Google Developer Experts badge, which essentially allows me to even further improve this, further create a better impact, because I can not only then I get additional support from Google for doing these things. If anybody else is focused on doing these community things, you can talk to me about this, and I can also introduce you to the GDG program, and maybe you can also get the badge down the road as well. So, coming back to the topic at hand. So when we talk about PWAs, there are many terms that you come across. Service workers is the first of them. But then there's also things like web components. How many people have here used web components? ठीक है, 2-3 लोगों ने यूज किया है. How many people have used web components in production? ठीक है, एक बंदे ने यूज किया है. And the idea is that all of these new things are coming in, but people still don't seem to understand कि वो क्यों आ रही हैं, उनका मकसद क्या है, and how do you get about starting to use them? And because of this, quiz time. This is my favorite one. So I would like to know who here can tell me, and there's going to be a small prize for this. What is the name of the team at Google that works on technologies that are related to the future of the web? टीम गूगल के अंदर एक टीम है, जैसे क्रोम टीम है ना, एंगुलर की टीम है, इस तरह एक टीम है. कौन सी वो टीम है जो एंगुलर, जो वेब के फ्यूचर पे काम करती है? एक टीम है स्पेसिफिकली सिर्फ उसी काम के लिए. गूगल एक्स? नहीं, गूगल एक्स, that's just the research department. These guys are designed, this whole team is actually focused on trying to see कि अगर 5 साल में what's web going to look like, what kind of tools we're going to have, what kind of implementations we're going to have. यार इतने सारे लोग बैठे हैं वेब के, किसी को नहीं पता है. अच्छा, आप बताएं कि कौन-कौन से फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं गूगल के वेब के ऊपर? और हैंड जरा रेज करें यार, इस तरह तो पता नहीं चलेगा मुझे. हैंड रेज करें, मैं किसी को पिक करूंगा.
डिजाइन गाइड भी उनकी मटेरियल है.
हैंड रेज. हाँ बताएं आप. बस एक पीछे. फ्लटर वेब पे नहीं है. We're talking about web frameworks. And any hands? Go is not a framework, not a web framework. Front end. Not what we're looking for. हो चुका है. Not Chrome, not Material, not Vue. Polymer is the name. ठीक है? Polymer किसने यूज किया Polymer? Now आप लोगों को जिन्होंने Polymer का नाम सुना है, but first I'm going to give you something for technically answering the question. A round of applause, please. काफी जद्दोजहद करनी पड़ी इतने सिंपल से आंसर के लिए यार. क्या हो गया ये? मेरे पास बड़ी टाइम था मेरे पास. Anyway, तो Polymer team का जो मकसद है, that is to create a visualization of how the web is going to look like in the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever. So one of the main things जो हम लोग एक चीज जिस तरफ migrate कर रहे हैं over the last several years now was कि we need to start using the native components of our web browsers as much as possible. ठीक है? जब हम लोग एक Angular का framework use करते हैं, जैसे अजीम भाई बात कर रहे थे previous talk में, Angular का मकसद क्या है? It just gives you a lot of support tools, right? आपको एक structure देता है, एक organization का तरीका देता है. Now, what if all of those things were already in your browser? अगर आपको उन चीजों, अगर ब्राउज़र में already होंगी कि आपको फिर Angular की जरूरत है, कि आपको फिर React की जरूरत है, and this is the kind of vision that Polymer works with. तो Polymer team ने at Google I/O this year, this was in June, they announced this project called the PWA starter kit. This is an open source project on GitHub. You guys can search this and you'll find it. And effectively, this is just a repository of how you can start using a project. Very simple. Magar, what the difference is, this is trying to use all of the new technologies that we have nowadays in our browsers, and it's a very opinionated setup made by Google that ये इस तरह की setup है, इसको आपने इस तरह use करना है, and this is what we're talking about. And we're going to go through all the different technologies that they've used. Obviously, PWAs is something that it kicks off with, but it goes into many other things that are besides PWAs that we also need to know about. So, PWA starter kit is something maintained by the Polymer team that is essentially इसका जो मकसद है, that is not to create a new framework. Polymer का framework भी नहीं बनाना. This is more of something that is a research project. एक दफा web components are adopted properly और उनकी सारी functionality आ जाएगी, Polymer team का काम खत्म हो जाएगा, and they might move on to the next future of the web, whatever that's going to be, maybe towards WebAssembly or something like that. Polymer team has created something called lit HTML. lit HTML is a very simple, thin library. I think it's 1 or 2 KBs, जो web components के ऊपर लिखा हुआ है. And sorry, that was the lit element. Lit HTML is actually a templating library जो essentially आपको string लेती है और उसके अंदर आप उसको interpolate कर सकते हैं अपने variables के साथ, and it renders it super fast using virtual DOM, and it's so fast that it's faster than React. It knows exactly what is changing in that string and will just update that in the DOM, literally that text. So it's super fast, and you can effectively get up and running within minutes. Now again, the whole point of this repo is that इसमें आप बहुत सारी चीजें देखेंगे जो native नहीं है, but what effectively are wrappers in front of native implementations, but very thin wrappers, because the idea is कि ये wrappers जो हैं, they will soon be integrated into the browser itself, and then we don't need all of these things. Then all we're doing is just coming back to native JavaScript and just writing an ES.js code. Oh, one of my favorite parts about this repository is that it uses Redux for state management, right? तो अब लोग confused हो रहे होंगे यार, Redux तो Facebook ने बनाया था, वो Polymer Team क्यों use कर रही है and things like that. Now Redux is just a very popular state management strategy. अभी अगर आप कोई ऐप देखेंगे, the probability that it's using Redux is pretty high, because यहाँ हर कोई अभी Redux use करता है. So instead of trying to go and create some futuristic state management solution, they wanted to show that नहीं यार, this is now. This is not that far away. आप अगर Redux use करना चाहें अभी अपने web components के साथ, you can do that. And they've written a very thin wrapper on top of Redux, and they started using that. So I just want to quickly show you how that looks like. So over here we have the code base. So I've cloned the PWA starter kit, and you can see it looks like a normal JavaScript project, right? You have your configuration files, you have your source folder, you have your images folder, the usual stuff. And again, the idea is that this is nothing very futuristic. This is just the web that we all know and love, and just a few things are going to be different now. तो उसमें पहली चीज जो I'd like to point out is कि if you like start opening the folders, you start seeing कि the folder structure is also the same, right? अगर आप कोई front end React application बना रहे हो, उसमें आप components बनाते हैं, actions बनाते हैं, reducers बनाते हैं, store बनाते हैं. Nothing over here has changed. And then you slowly come into and you start looking at your components, and this is the stuff that's changed actually. So instead of having your React library or anything else, what you're importing over here is called the lit element. And if you open the source for lit element, it's actually a thin wrapper on top of HTML element that is the native web component implementation. So this code is just running on a very thin library right now that is essentially web components. And उसके अंदर हम लोगों ने फिर structure लिखना शुरू करें. So this starts getting interesting. क्योंकि अगर मैं देखूं तो इस class के अंदर there's a render function. So how many people here use React? Show of hands. ठीक है? तो those who use React उसको देख रहे हैं ये तो this is just the same. So we have the render function and we have the get properties function. React के अंदर इसको हम लोग props कहते हैं और यहाँ पे props को define कर रहे हैं, right? So again, the idea over here is that at one point we needed a library to do this, and now we don't need it. All we need is just this is all just ES6 or इसके अंदर end में हम जाके window.custom_elements define job elements, and now in your browser it's defined as a custom element that you can use anywhere you want, right? So there's a lot of functionality that's the browser that we have in the browser that we can start using today. मैंने बात की थी हमारे पास ये library HTML की. This is your normal JavaScript string literal, और फिर उसके अंदर हमारे पास ये variables define किए हुए हैं. And again, the cool part about lit HTML is that it's super optimized when it comes to rendering. तो अगर for example मेरा ये वाला variable change होता है, तो it's not going to re-render this whole thing. It's just going to re-render this one variable, right? So it makes DOM updates super fast. So and this is essentially something that's very interesting about this library. So web components we've talked about. they're essentially a set of APIs that allow you to create reusable HTML tags. मगर उसकी excitement क्या है? I mean, what's the big deal about web components? So for that, I want you to start thinking about all the times you had to find that select library to use in your project. हम लोग select का tag use करते हैं, right? हम लोग browser में use करते हैं, but कभी भी use नहीं करते उस select tag को. हम लोग हमेशा उसके ऊपर से कोई library use करते हैं क्योंकि हमें उसमें कोई additional functionality चाहिए होती है. Yeah, how many people here have added a date picker in their applications, right? Almost everyone has. Because the idea over here is that you need these components and you need those custom components everywhere. Now, what web components allow you to do is that they create this platform where आपके पास ये generic components हैं जो centrally available हैं, right? And now I can say जिस तरह मैं React की library में use करता हूँ, मैं कहता हूँ अच्छा यार ये web component है, किसी ने बनाया है, इसको मैं use कर देता हूँ. Now since this is a generic web component, I can also use it in React, I can use this in Vue, I can use this in Angular. Down the road, browsers can ship with libraries of these components, right? Or they can ship with a cache of these components. And now I don't need to even download these components when I'm rendering my application, right? So there's huge potential in this side. And again, it's not something that we're using today, but this is something that we'll definitely be using in the future. So definitely worth looking into and playing around with this. So web components itself is nothing. So it's comprised of 4 different things that are coming into the web platform. The first thing is custom elements, and this is what we were looking at. जब हम लोग वो एक element को देख रहे थे और नीचे define कर रहे थे उसको JavaScript के अंदर, that was what we were creating as a custom element. ठीक है? तो जैसे हमारे पास p tag होता है, p tag is just a normal tag, but if I want to create custom tag, I use custom elements to create that. Shadow DOM is another interesting concept. How many people here have heard of Shadow DOM? Very few, and that's very sad क्योंकि ज़्यादा लोगों को पता चाहिए. React में एक बहुत बड़ा मसला है अभी. When you start making the app, आपका size grow करेगा, and the first thing you realize is कि मैं style इधर change करता हूँ और वो वाला component में style change हो जाता है. Why? Because there is no styling encapsulation. Not unless you go and you actually implement a library to enforce that. So in your custom elements, you are using Shadow DOM. So effectively, each component is isolated, and thus its styling is also isolated. So अगर मैं एक component का style लिखूँगा, तो वो मेरे दूसरे component को खराब नहीं करेगा. And that's actually a very important feature that we should have got maybe like 10 years ago, but we finally got around to start doing this. And this is again available already in all browsers, and this is supported throughout. One of the cool things that the Polymer team has done, they've built a set of polyfills, and now you can actually use all of these functionalities all the way back to ES 8 or 9, I think. So that's also pretty useful. ES modules, I'm just going to quickly show this. यहाँ पे हम लोग import कर रहे हैं, right? So for those people who've been using Babel, this has been pretty normal. हम लोग इसको इस next को use कर रहे हैं. But now this is actually available natively in your browser, right? And these ES modules allow you to import very different kind of things, including one of my favorite things is that you can import your CSS and you can actually use it. So let me show you how they've done it over here. So I have a component here that's called shared styles, and all this component is just returning an HTML lit HTML object, and effectively it just contains my generic styles that I want to use everywhere, right? And then if I go back into my application and I look at my Vue components, my containers effectively, I've imported shade styles over here, and then I use them in my HTML. And since this is using Shadow DOM, I know that this will not affect any other component except itself and its children. Okay? So things like this are pretty cool, and they've come into play and are available natively now on your browser. HTML templates, again, a very basic but cool concept. Sometimes you want to inject in some HTML code that you don't want it to be executed. अभी तक हम लोग क्या use कर रहे थे? Script tag को use करते थे, with text/HTML template करके use करते थे. Now there's actually a template tag that you can use. जब browser उसको देखेगा, उसको ignore कर देगा. Whenever you want to initialize it, you can initialize it and use it in your code. उसके बाद we come on to our next concept, which is the service worker, and this is where the core PWA starts. And effectively, all the service worker does is just a script. It's a script running in your background. It's isolated so that it's only working for that particular page that you're on. And alongside the script, there is something called the cache. And any network request that you're doing, it's going through this script. Now, the cool part is that you can customize this script to do whatever you want with it. So by default, it's used for caching. तो मैंने for example अपना ऐप किया, मेरे ऐप के अंदर 4 रिक्वेस्ट थी. पहली 3 रिक्वेस्ट जो थी, एक HTML की थी, एक JavaScript की थी, एक CSS की थी. तो इसने उन तीनों को पढ़ के कैश कर दिया. Now I've gone offline. I refresh my app. It still has those network requests cached, and when I refresh it, it will still download my application even though I have no internet connection. My fourth request could be a data request that I'm fetching for my user information, for example. Now I can also cache that, but let's say I don't want to cache that in a particular. I want to cache that in a particular way. So over here, what it allows you to do is it allows you to customize your protocol effectively so that you can store it like in whatever state you need it, and then you can either use the cache the next time the request is made, or you can use the cache and send it a network request, or you can just ask it not to use the cache at all and send the network request as well. So I want to show you guys over here if I can find that browser. Okay. So over here I have this PWA starter kit running, right? और उसके अंदर इसका demo है. It's a very simple app. You can go into it. You can play around with this. It has some basic functionality. But if I come into my application side, you can see it has a service worker configured. And if I click on the service worker.js, this is the code that this repository has automatically generated for me. I didn't have to do anything. And it's generated all of these different rules for my application right out of the box. Now I can go into this and I can configure the rules. I can change the rules in whatever way I feel I need them to be. Right? So this is something very interesting to explore. And this is essentially what I was talking about, right? So your application sends a network request. It comes to the service worker. Service worker, if it doesn't have it, it will use the network, or it can use the cache if it's already stored from before, and it will serve your application in either way, whether it's online or offline. So while we're using service workers, there's a very interesting pattern that PWA starter kit has also implemented. And before I go on to it, I'd like to give you guys a chance to tell me about its name. So there's a web pattern, especially Adrius Mani has made it very popular. He actually the one who coined the name for it. Can anybody name that pattern for me? It's essentially a performance pattern. It's all about optimizing your website and making it super fast. Show hands if somebody knows the answer, and we can. कोई बंदा नहीं यार क्या है ये? हम लोग क्या web developers हैं नहीं हैं? ये क्या हो रहा है ये? This is not meant to be the future. नहीं, not Flux. Not MVC. यार MVC भूल गया यार, हम लोग बहुत देर हो गई है MVC. Sorry. No, that's a pattern, but that's not the pattern we're looking for here.
Are we talking about purple pattern?
We are talking about purple pattern. Yes. And for you, we have another small gift. Round of applause, यार. एक बंदे को पता है यहाँ पे और आप लोगों को शर्म आनी चाहिए यार. ये इतनी simple सी चीज़ है. Those who don't know purple pattern should definitely investigate and figure out what this really is and how you can use it in your applications. This is a very interesting pattern because all it does is it's all about how do you make your initial load lean, right? इसमें मैं कोई I'm not creating some next level generation technology thing. इसमें उससे सिर्फ 4 rules define किए हैं. उससे सिर्फ इतना का है कि जब आप अपना पेज लोड करा रहे हैं, initial लोड करा रहे हैं, तो उसमें अपना चेक कर लें कि you're only pushing the critical resources, right? अगर मेरे पास एक पेज डाउनलोड हो रहा है और मैं फॉर एग्जांपल एक डैशबोर्ड डाउनलोड कर रहा हूँ मगर उसके साथ मैं लॉगिन पेज की रिसोर्सेज डाउनलोड कर रहा हूँ Are the login page resources critical right now? No, they're not. Please make sure they don't download on the initial page load. उनको आप lazily load करें बाद में and the focus on improving your site performance by just focusing on those critical resources, right? उसमें एक जो चीज आती है important वो ये भी आती है कि हमारी CSS होती है ये CSS जो होती है वो usually bundle होती है एक बड़ी सी फाइल में और उसमें पूरी एप्लीकेशन की CSS होती है This pattern is against that. वो कहते हैं कि आपकी हर view की CSS वो you can set up your build tooling and again this is what PWA starter kit is for. You can set up your build tooling in such a way कि आपकी वो सिर्फ CSS वही डाउनलोड हो जो आपको उस पेज के लिए सिर्फ चाहिए and then when you click on your next page तो फिर उसकी CSS डाउनलोड हो, right? So almost so Azima essentially mentioned how the पुराना web used to work where we used to click on a page और वो पूरा reload होता था और next resource पे जाता था at that time हमारे पास एक concept होता था कि हम लोग हर page की CSS अलग रखते थे और फिर उसकी CSS डाउनलोड होती थी so we're trying to move back to this pattern जिसमें हमारे पास बहुत सारी छोटी-छोटी files हैं और वो सारी डाउनलोड हो रही हैं render the initial route again the focus is on that one route that you're trying to access right अगर मेरे पास डैशबोर्ड का पेज है या लॉगिन का पेज है तो लॉगिन के पेज पे साइन अप की रिसोर्सेज नहीं डाउनलोड होनी चाहिए इट शुड जस्ट डाउनलोड माय लॉगिन पेज एंड प्री कैश द रिमेनिंग रूट्स दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एंड दिस कम्स विद एक्चुअली सम स्क्रिप्ट्स दैट यू कैन ऐड एंड प्री कैशिंग के अंदर होता है ये कि फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने एक पेज लोड किया मैंने अपना होम पेज लोड किया एंड देयर वर 3 लिंक्स ऑन दैट पेज व्हाट आई कैन डू इज जैसे मेरा पेज लोडिंग खत्म हो गई आई कैन एक्चुअली गो एंड फेच द नेक्स्ट 2 अदर पेजेस दैट आर इन द व्यू और इसके लिए बहुत अच्छी स्क्रिप्ट्स लिखी गई हैं और उसमें वो कुछ एनालिसिस करके कई बार वो डिटरमिन भी कर लेते हैं कि अच्छा हाँ ये प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि ये वाला लिंक अगर क्लिक होगा तो उसको सबसे पहले मैं डाउनलोड करूंगा राइट सो सम प्रीटी कूल स्टफ हैपनिंग डेफिनेटली वर्थ चेकिंग आउट एंड देन फाइनली वी हैव योर लेजी लोडिंग एंड व्हाट डज लेजी लोडिंग लुक लाइक लेजी लोडिंग लुक्स लाइक दिस राइट सो effectively you load your app and initially वो कुछ network request करेगा but when I click on that view, it will then fetch my other scripts. So हम लोग ये images वगैरह के साथ तो करते ही हैं already, but we don't do this with scripts and other resources. CSS वगैरह के साथ नहीं करते हम लोग. So effectively, the idea of all of this is कि you're making your page as lean as possible, and you're making जो उसका जो download size है that becomes to a minimum, and we can then essentially load it super fast. That's the end goal here. So we covered a lot of things, and for those of you who are like looking at a point कि कहाँ से शुरू करना चाहिए, I would recommend this is the point to start from. Lighthouse is a Chrome extension. You can download it in 5 seconds, you can install it, and then you can run it. And when you run it, you'll find out how crappy your website is, right? And this is how crappy our website is right now. And effectively, what you do from here is इसकी report जो काफी बड़ी है, and it gives you a lot of suggestions on what you can improve. And जितनी भी चीजों की बात की है हमने, and some of them are obviously I'm talking about some things that are way down in the future. Things like web components you might not start using for next year, but things like purple pattern you can use today. It's all about organizing your code base in a way so that you can hit these targets. And the idea effectively is that you score 100 across all of these things. There are a lot of suggestions around security, around UI, around accessibility that you can make sure that you're passing all of those things so that you can make essentially a better user experience for everyone. So we're going to share the slides. So once you have them, you can essentially go through the different resources. I'm going to point out this one particular resource. This has just gone live during the GDG Web Summit. It's the web.dev URL. And this is a new resource by Google. और इसका जो पूरा focus है वो सिर्फ यही है कि how do we make our web a better place, right? How do we promote those good patterns for programming? How do we promote those things like purple pattern and web components and WebAssembly? That is the one-stop shop for everything. So it used to be the Google developer website, that's going to remain, but this is going to be more focused on best practices for the web. So definitely worth checking out. Baki, as you can see, most of them are Google developer links. So. And that was it from my end. Thank you all very much, and I hope you guys learned something new today. Thank you.
So if anybody has questions for the